AEW star Brody King seemingly reveals he would like to see CM Punk back in All Elite Wrestling by liking a tweet on Twitter. An interesting Dustin Rhodes segment has been announced for tonight's edition of Rampage on TNT. We've got the ratings for this past week's edition of AEW Dynamite. Just how much money is Mercedes Moné on in New Japan Pro Wrestling? We've got details on that. Thunder Rosa was backstage at Dynamite, and we now have details on what she was doing backstage at the show. More details on the injury suffered by the Bunny on this week's show too. We've also got an update on the police receiving several calls after MJF's promo on Dynamite this week, and a really funny story. AEW's Fight Forever video game finally has the desired rating that it has, seemingly paving the way for a release later this year. Malakai Black has revealed that he was pushing AEW to launch live events, which they have now with the house show rules matches. And also AEW announces a partnership with ESPN. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Let's start off talking about Brody King. Of course, we know the House of Black member is good friends with former AEW World Champion CM Punk. And if you look at his social media accounts, it would appear that he would like to see his friend return to All Elite Wrestling later on this year. Now, we may not have seen CM Punk on AEW television since the now infamous AEW All Out Media Scrum and the subsequent backstage altercation with the Elite. Punk also, though, suffered an injury during his AEW World Championship victory over Jon Moxley in the show's main event, which would have sidelined him from AEW television for months regardless of any altercation and backstage brawl or media shooting in front of all of the journalists there in Chicago. But it would have been that injury that would have sidelined him for 9 months anyway, and he is still rehabilitating from the surgery he subsequently underwent after All Out. Now, Dave Meltzer noted recently that Punk would be available to return to the company in a few months should the company opt to bring him back. Now, obviously, we still don't really know what's going on when it comes to CM Punk's status with All Elite Wrestling. The last update was that he was recovering from this surgery. He's posted various photos of himself on social media, training in the gym. His most recent photo was on his Instagram story once again, and in the background is a picture of his dog, Larry, wanting Punk's oatmeal, according to the description. But behind him, he was studying Bret Hart matches, leading some to speculate he could be doing his research ahead of an in-ring return later this year. As I mentioned, the last update we had regarding CM Punk was that this contract negotiation of a buyout had basically stopped. The big hold-up point reportedly previously was a non-compete clause, which Punk didn't want and AEW did, but for months we haven't heard anything, and the last update from Dave Meltzer regarding said contract buyout was that he hadn't heard anything in a while either, leading to some to speculate that maybe Punk could indeed return to the ring once he's cleared to return physically, and he could appear in an AEW ring later this year. Now, one AEW star who seemingly believes that Punk should be brought back into the fold is Brody King, who took to Twitter to like a tweet in support of Punk returning to the company. The tweet in question, you can see it on the screen, said, quote, "My toxic trait is I don't think CM Punk did anything wrong and should come back the conquering hero. Let's go." Now, the situation with CM Punk and AEW continues to be a major talking point within the company, with various top stars in the company, including the likes of Chris Jericho, noting they would make sure Punk wasn't brought back into the company. However, it's not Chris Jericho's company, it's Tony Khan, and he will have the final say on the decision. It's not the first time we've seen Brody King with CM Punk in recent weeks and months. During the Dynamite Grand Slam episode, I believe it was, we saw a situation whereby he was with CM Punk, rather. CM Punk was with Brody King, and it led to a lot of speculation again that CM Punk could have been. It was in Seattle, Washington, rather. Could actually have been having discussions with All Elite Wrestling ahead of a return. Some people said that was the case. Some people said it wouldn't. We don't have any confirmation on that. One thing we do know is that Brody King really does want to see CM Punk back in All Elite Wrestling. This is an interesting one considering what happened on Monday Night Raw this past week when it comes to Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman, and a recent announcement from AEW has piqued the interest of wrestling fans as we approach AEW Rampage this evening. In response to the news that we'll hear from the legendary Texan, the natural Dustin Rhodes, on the episode of AEW Rampage coming from El Paso, Texas, fans are taking to Twitter to speculate on what Rhodes may be saying. During the incredible segment with Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman on Raw this week, Heyman told Cody that in Heyman's final conversation with the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, Dusty told him that Cody was his favorite son, his other son, of course, being Dustin. There, of course, is no guarantee that Dustin will address this on Rampage tonight, and his appearance could be for something entirely unrelated, but some fans are certainly intrigued about the possibility. Now, what's really curious about this, some would say, well, Rampage is a taped show, so check the spoilers. Was he on there? That's the interesting thing. There was no mention of anything related to Dustin in Rampage spoilers that came out Wednesday night, so this seems it could be something that's being added in post-production. Replies from fans on AEW's announcement include, quote, address Heyman saying Cody was Dusty's favorite son. He's not involved in any storylines, so what on earth could he possibly have to say? He's leaving to go support Cody. I hope he says needs to take care of family business and leaves AEW to join WWE to even the odds for his brother. Of course, recently, Cody Rhodes spoke on the possibility of Dustin Rhodes joining him for his undisputed WWE Universal Championship match at WrestleMania 39 against Roman Reigns in the main event. Rhodes, Dustin that is currently signed to AEW with a contract that is believed to end in July 2023, and he has said that this year will be his final year as an active wrestler. Cody Rhodes has recently spoken about the possibility of his brother joining him in WrestleMania to be a part of the moment of being in the main event. However, he did say it would take for a lot of people that don't usually get on. We'll have to wait and see. Now, whilst there's no confirmation that Dustin Rhodes will be joining the American Nightmare for WrestleMania 39, of course, another AEW star was recently spotted backstage at the Royal Rumble, that being Ricky Starks. Cody Rhodes touched on that earlier this week. You can check that out on the channel in which we address Cody's comments on that story. But let me know what you think Dustin Rhodes is going to do tonight on Rampage in the comment section below. Speaking of Dynamite this week, we have the ratings, and once again, it doesn't look great for AEW's flagship show. The viewership figure and demo rating for Wednesday's February 8th edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS has been revealed. Per Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, Dynamite drew 899,000 viewers. This is slightly down from the February 1st episode that drew 901,000 viewers on the same network. This is the lowest total viewership for the show since the January 4th edition. Now, in the key 18 to 49 demographic, Wednesday's episode scored a 0.30 rating. This is also down from the week prior that scored a 0.31 rating. AEW ranked number 5 on cable in the demo for the night. The show, of course, featured the Guns defeating the Acclaim to win the AEW World Tag Team Championships in the main event. Also, Bryan Danielson defeated Roosh to advance to face MJF in a 60-minute Iron Man match for the AEW World Championship at Revolution on March 5th. Again, it does go to show that AEW's key demographic is down roughly about 20% year on year, and the viewership is also down too. Meanwhile, you've got the competition WWE's key demographic going up and viewership going up year on year. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What does this mean for AEW Dynamite and the programming in general? Is AEW's programming cold right now? The product is good, but the ratings aren't reflecting that. Why is that the case? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. A bit of an update on Mercedes Moné, of course not currently with WWE or AEW, but if she were, she'd be making more money than she's currently making in New Japan Pro Wrestling, according to Dave Meltzer. As I mentioned, Meltzer had previously questioned reports that the former WWE's Sasha Banks was on a, quote, per appearance deal at the highest price that Bushiroad has ever paid anyone, including Chris Jericho. He has now revealed more information through the Wrestling Observer newsletter, writing, quote, the story that was going around that Mercedes Moné is making more than Chris Jericho made here is incorrect. It's not even close. The money is not at the level she could get with WWE or AEW. It's certainly very good money on a per appearance basis, but that would tell you she's doing it for the experience and bucket list idea of wanting to do at one point in her prime work against the top Japanese women wrestlers in Japan. Meltzer did state that one of the benefits for Moné under New Japan is that, quote, she has far more freedom to explore acting or other businesses than she would under the WWE umbrella. Of course, she recently addressed her decision to walk away from WWE in May 2022 and what she was doing with her time after her departure. Despite debuting at New Japan Wrestle Kingdom in January 2023, she's not yet wrestled in New Japan. Her debut match is going to be taking place in just over a week's time, a week tomorrow, at Battle in the Valley against Kairi for the IWGP Women's Championship, but certainly interesting there to say that she's getting less money than she would do in WWE or AEW, which to be honest does make a lot of sense, and she hasn't ruled out going back to WWE or signing with AEW in the future, but as of right now, her focus is on New Japan, her acting career, and her other outside ventures. Anything else? Certainly a possibility, but as Meltzer says, it would appear that she's doing this because she wants to do it, not because she's going to be massively financially compensated to the level that she would be in WWE or AEW. Thunder Rosa, we spoke the other day about Thunder Rosa being backstage at Dynamite this week, and we now have details on what she was actually doing backstage at the show. Thunder Rosa has been away from AEW television since August 2022, though recently made a return that you may have missed. The former AEW Women's Champion had recently discussed her return plans, but said she wasn't going to be wrestling just yet. Thunder Rosa's absence was due to a back injury that she had been dealing with for a while. In the current Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Mounts revealed just what Thunder Rosa had been up to, writing, quote, "Rosa was back at TV this week but didn't perform in a match or angle. She did Spanish language commentary." Thunder Rosa also recently revealed that she's been taking acting classes and wants to get better at promos so that she can be featured on television more often. She isn't just stopping at acting either. She also said she's taking singing classes and hopes to show the world that she is multi-talented. There had been previously speculation as to the in-ring return date of Thunder Rosa, with Meltzer suggesting February 2023 when discussing the subject last November. However, that doesn't look likely as of right now. This was something that I speculated on, that even going far back as to say when she said, I'm going to be returning to the road soon for AEW. She'd done Spanish language commentary for AEW quite a lot in the past, even when she was an active in-ring performer prior to her winning the Women's World Championship around sort of 2022. She did a lot of Spanish language commentary, so it's not surprising to see her go back to that, and again, I think she'll be doing that until she finally does return to the ring, which hopefully will be soon, but as of right now we don't have any confirmation on that. Speaking of confirmation on some of the female talents in AEW, there's been a lot of concern about an injury sustained by the Bunny this week on Dynamite, and it doesn't look good. AEW star The Bunny seemingly suffered an injury on this week's episode of AEW Dynamite during her clash with Jamie Hayter. The match had to be ended prematurely, with Hayter picking up the victory due to an injury concern for The Bunny. In an update from PW Insider, the belief backstage in the company is that she may have suffered a concussion or even possibly a broken orbital bone. It's worth noting that neither injury has been confirmed by either AEW or the Bunny herself in a public statement. The report also notes that she is set to undergo medical testing as soon as possible in order to diagnose the potential injury. Obviously, wish her the best, and it had been reported that the AEW medical team was looking at her ringside shortly after the match. The match had an abrupt ending, and they didn't show the medical team attending to her ringside, which they would do most of the time if it was an angle. So it felt like the injury was serious, and if it's a concussion and or a broken orbital bone, it could be very serious indeed. So here's hoping it's not too bad and she can recover soon. MJF was the talk of the wrestling world, when isn't he? But especially after Dynamite this week for his fiery promo that he cut referencing Liv. Some people thought it was Liv Morgan, but really a graphic sort of driving crash promo. And it's actually led to people calling up the police department in his hometown. It's kind of crazy. In the aftermath of MJF's controversial promo on this week's Dynamite, several reports suggested that the Nassau Police Department were flooded with 300 phone calls and had to investigate the veracity of the story narrated by the AEW World Champion. However, ESPN's Mark Raimondi subsequently shot down the reports, claiming that the fan outrage regarding the content of MJF's promo was greatly exaggerated. Quote, "Not to break kayfabe, but I contacted the Nassau County PD, and reports that hundreds of people have called about the MJF promo from AEW don't seem to be true," he wrote on Twitter. "The public information officer didn't know what I was talking about and said such calls would go to his office." In a follow-up tweet, Raimondi noted that several people confirmed to him that there was truth to the original story, but the idea that hundreds of fans were flooding cops with phone calls was not true. Later on Thursday, Brian Alvarez reported that the police did receive phone calls following MJF's promo, saying, quote, "I don't know if it was actually over 300, but absolutely 100% they got a bunch of phone calls," Alvarez said on the latest Wrestling Observer Live. "That's not a joke. A bunch of fans legitimately called the Nassau Police Department to report MJF." Alvarez added that 80% of MJF's promo was true, and the wrestler did get into a serious car accident with his football buddies in junior high. He changed the end, Alvarez said, of MJF's story. He wanted to make people think he was a horrible person. It wasn't a story he made up. Almost 80% of it is true, but 20% is fake. He did spin out with his football buddies and smash into a tree. It was serious, a serious car accident. Now, it must be said, when it comes to Brian Alvarez, some of the things he's been saying recently haven't been 100% true, so come to your own conclusion as to what you believe. I think most likely, yes, there was maybe a phone call or a few phone calls to the police department. It wasn't hundreds or anything like that, but it just does make me laugh when you see Brian Alvarez being so gung-ho for something, an AEW angle. Who would have thought it? Now, one of the biggest delays for AEW Fight Forever reportedly has been the company's difficulty to get the correct rating for it, and now it would appear that they finally got what they wanted. The ESRB rating for AEW Fight Forever has been revealed. The wrestling world, of course, has been anticipating the release of All Elite Wrestling's first video game entitled AEW Fight Forever. WrestleZone reported that the game has not released an official release date because they were unable to acquire a teen rating from the ESRB. Now that it is official that the game has acquired their desired ESRB rating, ESRB wrote the following, quote, "This is a wrestling game in which players compete in matches with wrestlers from the AEW roster. Players use punches, kicks, and grappling maneuvers to drain their opponent's health. In some matches, some match types, e.g. barbed wire, stadium stampede, unsanctioned, players can use barbed wired baseball bats, metal chairs, and Molotov cocktails against opponents, eventually resulting in submission and or knockouts. Blood splatter effects can occur during matches, staining mats. Video footage of real matches also depicts blood on wrestlers' faces and bodies. The game contains some mildly suggestive material, female wrestlers in revealing outfits, e.g. deep cleavage, bunny outfits, partially exposed buttocks, wrestling performing taunting gestures, e.g. crotch chop, slapping buttocks. Real footage sometimes depict wrestlers drinking alcohol and smoking. The word shit is heard in the game." Despite the release date not being announced, there have been an update as to the plans for the upcoming video game. It's going to be a fight forever, i.e. this is going to be the only time it's released, and updates will be then put out as downloadable content, apparently. But we are getting one step closer to this game being released. Again, an official release date we don't have right now. Once we do, we'll discuss it here on the channel. AEW, of course, is moving into the house show market soon, and Malakai Black has revealed that he pushed AEW in that direction. All Elite Wrestling recently announced it will begin running live house shows with their AEW House Rules series on select weekends starting on March 18 in Troy, Ohio. Appearing on the Hard Law Music podcast, Malakai Black admitted that he has been pushing AEW owner Tony Khan to start running house shows in order for wrestlers on the roster to get more reps in and for up-and-coming stars to continue to learn. He stated, quote, "It was at my request that we're doing live events. Initially, Khan was like, maybe, and I kept hammering down on him, and others started chiming in too. Eventually, he told me, what was it, 4 or 5 months ago when I sat down with him, he basically said, we're going to start doing live events in 2023, and I was like, okay, put me on them." Khan said the promotion's AEW House Rules series will run on select weekends in markets across the country. Black said he loves house shows, and there's nothing more fun than live events because you can interact with the crowd. Reflecting on his mindset for pushing in house shows, Black said, quote, "I think a lot of the young guys that are coming through now will need to learn how to work for cameras and learn how to get comfortable in front of an audience in a way they don't forget about. Like, hey, take a breather and give people the opportunity to process it is what you just did." That doesn't mean stand still and do nothing, but it's all these little things that a lot of younger kids in that locker room now are going to be able to pick up and get better, because that's the only way you're going to get better. So Malakai Black certainly is going to be on a lot of those house shows. Again, the frequency of them, we still don't know. How well they're going to draw, that's going to be the key indicator of their success, and that will be dependent on the stars that they have on there. Finally, AEW has announced a relationship or a partnership with ESPN. Not in the country that you think, though. AEW has announced a new international partnership with ESPN to bring AEW matches to fans in Australia, New Zealand, and Pacific Islands. A press release was released last night explaining this fully in detail, but now we're going to see the likes of Dynamite, Rampage, and all the pay-per-views as well, such as Revolution, Double or Nothing, All Out, and Full Gear, all on ESPN in those select countries. Those countries or the locations will be Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, Samoa, Tonga, Cook Islands, Solomon Islands, Niue, Nauru, Vanuatu, Kiribati, Northern Marinas, Tokelau, Tahiti, Tuvalu, New Caledonia, American Samoa, Marshall Islands, Palau, Federated States of Micronesia, Papua New Guinea, and Wallis and Futuna. So there you go. That's the countries that AEW can be seen on ESPN. But there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button. You get access to badges, emojis, and exclusive members-only content, such as members-only live streams, videos. The videos are going to include the likes of classic match watch-alongs, interviews, debate shows, you name it. You've been asking for that extra content, so you can find that by joining the WN365 roster and clicking that join button. It's also in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the comment section as well. Smash a like on the video, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.